and I won't have enough money for late game, especially round 26, as I do need Impale for DTs, and I really don't want to have to sell for that. So round 24 comes along, and I got my elite sniper like just before he sent those UMGs. Thankfully, did have lots of money to spare, so again, just getting a 4-2-0 main mob, just hopefully stun down those UMGs, and just get like, some overdrives. I was gonna plan on slowly defending this, but he does send some fortified BFBs underneath, which is definitely not an ideal situation. So at this point, I'm just thinking, well, I'm gonna need S-mail. Basically, the only way I'm going to defend this, this was a semi all-in rush, although if you look on his side, he still has like elite sniper and 2 plantations to sell, which is definitely not good for me. And this is also a bit worrying since 26 is pretty soon, but it's around 25 now, and I had to beat these UMGs before DDTs come out, as I do need to sell S-mail in order to be able to afford Impale. So I do have to use S-mail kind of a bit early, so I'm not end up dying to these mobs. That was a bit concerning, but thankfully, the UMGs were slow enough to the fact that that didn't really matter too much. I get S-mail back, as well as another Maelstrom. He boosts on my side, which I guess was kind of a waste, as S-mail absolutely shreds Moab rushes. If you see that there, S-mail just absolutely killed it. If you look at the pop count there, it got like 22,000, it was absolutely insane. And of course, 26 started just in time. He sends fortified DTs, 2 of them, 2 fortified DTs and normal DT. I get embrittlement for some reason and not icicle impale. Thankfully, main mob was able to stun the DTs long enough that I was able to afford icicle impale in time before that mistake really cost me the game. So I retaliated by sending some DTs on his side. He only has elite sniper and just necromancer. And so he gets a 4-2-0 main mob. I thought he was going to die there, but he just barely defended those 2 DDTs. Sent him a fortified DT on his side. I definitely should have waited till his boost ran out until I sent it, as he was able to defend this one a lot easier than in the 2 normal DTs, in my opinion. So at this point, I'm just kind of thinking, well, what do I kill him with? Well, easy. Round 28 is next round, and he has no defense against tight ceramics. I was hoping he wasn't going to do the same thing against me, as I don't have defense against tight ceramics either. I sent him 3 sets, selling main mob for that, and as you can see, they just absolutely run through his snipers and necromancer. He boosts, but it's a bit too late for that, as like again, elite sniper does not have the pierce or damage necessary to take out tight ceramics. I think with alch buff it can, but I think base 250 does not do enough damage to regular ceramics. Now, of course, this next match is kind of annoying. Getting, Mayan or really any other long map on not Hall Masters, but in TOMG is really kind of frustrating, as this is basically guaranteed to go late game, especially, since, running Heli Ice Village, as I figured that's probably the best late game strategy I could really think of. I know there's Tac Ice Village, which I used to run a lot back in, like, a long time ago, season 3, 4, 5. I used to run that a lot, but, even still, I think Heli Ice Village might actually be better in terms of late game, as I did test this strategy sort of, and I was able to survive up to 43, and that was not even playing optimally. But anyways, Mayan in ZOMG is absolutely annoying, as this is pretty much guaranteed to go past round 40 if both players know what they're doing. I assumed he was going for like like bomb ice village, or just any bomb village combo that also survives up to 40 as well, so we're gonna be here for a while. That's what I thought when I initially kind of started playing this game, but Mamba's Kitten, I guess, really did not want to go to 40, which I can completely understand. He was very over-aggressive this game. Even though aggression is something I do enjoy from both players, there is a point where you are just kind of hurting your money gains, and it's not really worth it. Well, what do I mean? If I look here, for round 11, he immediately sends purples my way, which doesn't really do anything. He even boosts it, which again does nothing. I just had a micro heli, but it only really leaked a yellow. Leaking lives doesn't necessarily matter, since I do have heli, I can just regain those lives anyways. So I just continue on my normal eco pattern, which my eco amount is okay-ish. It's not the best, but it's not really too great, especially since it's on a very long map like mine. I am able to fully send rainbows. He's not, just because he spent so much money on those rainbows just kind of in the beginning. So round 13 rolls around, he sends camo purples as well, which again does nothing since both heli and ice can detect camo. I'm guessing he thought I went for the bottom cross path and not the middle cross path. like you do normally with Heli. It's not worth using Village to get the bottom cross path, as since Village is so expensive that you end up actually hurting your eco a lot for the early game in order to actually be able to afford Village. This is why I think Village needs a massive buff, because outside of late game, Village is quite trash. I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, but Village is honestly quite awful. This is someone who played Village quite a lot. I always felt that, I was so behind in just cash generation just because I had to spend so much money for radar scanner. He stopped sending and he just sends some regen rainbows. Again, I don't really do much except, just use cocktail as well as get an embrittlement. And this does, again, basically nothing. I even ecoed throughout the whole entire thing, so I guess there's that. I'm sure Mombus on his side is probably a bit annoyed that I'm able to easily defend this without too much. He even sends more rainbows on my side, and he boosts those, which again, those does nothing. It was a bit close, but through some pretty decent heli micro, I was able to easily defend that. So it seems he is trying to end the game as fast as possible. I'm just going to play the long game just because he's hurting his eco so much by doing this, and it's honestly not worth it. 17 was a bit scary. I wasn't really sure if I could defend Regross Rams, so I ended up boosting. Even though looking back, I don't actually think I needed to, but that didn't really matter. So I sold Crowd Cannon that I got and decided to go for a shove just to help defend those mobs on 17. He sends multiple, which I'm not really sure why, as shove and downdraft, and shards and embrittlement, all that. That defends pretty much infinite mobs. You're just wasting money at this point. And he's been saving up for quite a while to be able to afford all these mob rushes that he's just kind of spamming, and that doesn't really do too much. So not only is he hurting his eco, it is kind of a flex just to be able to eco through all that. I end up getting a crowd cannon just because I figured he's probably going to go for 18 fortified mobs as well. So I figured, crowd cannon hopefully for fortified cerams would do good. Using cocktail yet again to defend his just endless mob rush that he ended up sending. I don't end up sending on his side, just because I figured that I probably can take him late and win anyway, since he is, his eco must be massively behind. He ends up using another tower boost just to go and send 2 F mobs. And so, he's absolutely just wasting his boosts at the moment. I even started going for Chinook just in the middle of the rush, as I figured, downdraft is pretty good for fortified cerams, so I was pretty safe here. And so I guess what Mamba should have done is we probably should have played the long game. Since we're both at high trophies in ZOMG, he probably should have figured that, hey, this census is mine, pretty long map, pretty easy to defend. We are definitely going to be going to 40. That is just kind of a given, especially for maps like this, especially without farms. He sends some fast cooldown fortified mobs. That did have me worried a bit, so I ended up boosting. Even though I don't really think I needed to, as again, downdraft is pretty good. I end up getting my Chinook on round 20, which is pretty good, and a pretty good eco amount too. 2300 is not bad at all. So he sends a fortified ZMG over on my side. I just kind of send a regular BFB just because I'm just like, hey, you only have 2 cluster bombs, go get a mauler or something. So just kind of some pressure defense is what I'm trying to send. I end up getting an Apache dart ship, and that's pretty much all I have to do. And I also do get Comanche just to slow this down just a bit further and hopefully use whatever. I did end up kind of using all my abilities just a bit too early. I thought Boost, Firestorm, Cocktail would have burst down the damage pretty easily. It ended up not doing that, so I was kind of like, oh, well, whatever. I guess we'll just stall it a bit longer. This did have me a bit worried as 26 is coming pretty soon. If you saw on his side, he ended up leaking massively to that BFB. So I ended up sending him a ZMG with BFBs underneath while I'm just stalling this ZMG for forever because I can defend this pretty easily. Even though I don't have any boosts anymore, he has to worry about what he's doing on his side, as he does have to worry about, just a ZMG and a BFB on his side when he only has a cluster and an assassin. He's definitely going to need a lot more than that. So it did have me kind of scared for these mobs, as we are kind of popping them all. We're kind of popping all the BFBs at once, but even still, we'd still defending that, I guess, okay. If you saw there, the ceramics were pretty close to the exit, but thankfully with the lives, I did have lives to tank an entire ceramic and still be semi-okay. So fortified ZMG was taken down pretty easily. He still has an entire ZMG on his side that he eventually popped down. Although looking at his defense, it's not really too ideal. Just in case he did defend this, I would decide to get Impale up just preemptively, just hopefully, so I don't actually end up being caught with my pants down. He ends up not being able to defend that. So I guess it just goes to show, while it is good to be aggressive, you should try to limit what aggression you're doing. He definitely was way too over aggressive and ended up hurting himself for the mid game. I guess he just really didn't want to go to 40, which is understandable, but at some point you're just gonna have to accept that you're gonna go to 40.